everybody, it is me, Dean Seddon, where you're watching. If you're watching me on LinkedIn, hello everybody. Hi Jess, hi Lewis, hi Marco. We are going to start this live. I'm going to be talking about how do you sell your expertise on social media. So we're going to take that topic as a kind of catch-all for how does that work on social media, and explain some of the things that you need to do to give that perception that you are the go-to expert in your field. You might have all the expertise, all the knowledge, all the insight, but actually if it's not being projected, if it's not being presented in the right way, people will miss it. So hi everybody watching. If you're watching on my LinkedIn, awesome. If you're watching on Maverrik's LinkedIn, awesome. If you're watching on YouTube, say hello. I'd love to hear from you in the chat. And if you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, wherever you're watching, welcome. We're just going to go through a session tonight, low key, chilled out, just talking about the principles of how do you sell your expertise on social media. So I'd love this to be interactive. I know I'm looking at a camera here and I'm going to tinker, as all the TV people hate me doing, but this is live. This is me. Yeah, I probably look better on my profile pictures than in person, but don't we all? I just want to kind of talk about this because it's really important. If you're selling your expertise in any way, shape or form, marketing consultant, social media person, industry leader, coach, management consultant, accountant, lawyer, a lot of your selling, yeah, I know that's a dirty word for many of us who is selling expertise, but for many of us feels like a dirty word because we don't want to do stuff that's what you'd call low status, stuff that undermines what we're about. If we're the go-to coach or we're the go-to lawyer, why do we need to drum up business? The reality is we all need to drum up business at times. We have peaks and troughs, and that's life. But we don't want to do kind of low status activity that kind of undermines our credibility. Yeah, you're the foremost expert in mindset coaching, but you're having to drum up trade by DMing people. We all have to outreach every now and then, but what we want to do is how do we systematically approach selling based on expertise? So this is what I want to talk about tonight, and it might be short and sweet if you're not as interactive as your usual bunch, but I think we've got quite a lot of people watching on LinkedIn, quite a lot of people watching on YouTube, which is awesome, and some people on Facebook. So please do chip in the comments. All the comments come through to me here, so if you say hello, I'll say hello back. If you disagree with me, I'll have some thoughts and share ideas with you. And it's great Marco's joining from Italy, and Jess is loving these lives. I really appreciate it. Sometimes you never know quite who's watching these, but it's great to do them. It's good for me, and I can see Mohammed's joined, and Alyssa, and Frida. So we got some good crowds across all the channels. So do say hello, do interact, do ask questions, and we will. Oh, hi Zoe. Yeah, I recognize some of the names here as well. My eyesight's pretty poor today because I have to see it at a distance. But let's be real. Let's just kick into this session now. And Marianne, social media is kind of an anomaly that has kind of dominated our lives for the past 15 years or so. And it's kind of matured a little bit, whereby things like LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, it's seen as acceptable to be on these channels to get business, particularly in a B2B and an expert and an advisory kind of, advisors, trusted partners, consultants, that kind of thing. So it's seen as a space where you should be. And it's only going to get more prevalent and more influential. And let's be honest, it's the only space that you have that you can use pretty much for free every day to get in front of people. Could you imagine if we rewind 20 25 years and tried to be a business consultant, a marketing consultant, and get a business back then, these channels didn't exist. So the reality is we have them, they'll chop and change, but here's the relief for you. If you've been stressed out about how to make social media work, I'm going to give you the biggest relief of your life. If you understand human beings, even just a smidgen, and you understand the challenges your audience face, the target customers face, doesn't matter about algorithms, doesn't matter about any of that stuff. You can solve all of that stuff. The biggest problem you will face in selling your expertise on social media is actually understanding the human beings you're trying to help. So what I want to do tonight is really talk about some of the key principles you need to employ in order for you to sell your expertise on social media. Now, I'm going to give you two groups that we're going to go on. Hopefully I'm going to pick a good pen. The non-selling. Oh, let me change the pen. You can tell this is live, can't you? All right? The pen doesn't work. So we're going to go for the passive selling. And active selling. So I've categorized, hopefully you can see my scribble. I always wanted to be a school teacher when I was a kid, so having a whiteboard and being able to write like this is really cool. It's like a dream come true for me. Passive selling is where you do very little and you don't do any outbound, you get everything to come in. So in other words, you won't go and say, hey, do you need my help? You draw people in. So this is more about content, and the big goal is inbound. Yeah, inbound. In other words, that your name, your reputation, your influence within a market, however big that market is, it could be 200 people. Yeah. So I don't want to get you phased by, oh, I need to know thousands of people, or I know hundreds of, I need 1 million followers. I'm not talking about that stuff. The inbound is the goal. So we'll come to that bit in a minute. So this one, active selling, is about outreach. And this is all about messaging in all its forms. So the email, LinkedIn messages, Instagram messages, all that stuff. Two different groups of activities. Now, some of the people, one of the things I teach is I teach some companies and some people to use both. To use both. Now, I would never encourage you to build cold sequences of warming them up, just following up. Why? Because it's low status. If you want to position yourself up here as the expert, as the go-to person, you want to charge the fees and make more money, you can't do low status stuff. So you can't be chasing people down, you can't be building cadences, because they undermine your credibility. Yeah, they undermine your credibility. Now, if you're a salesperson, I'm not advocating do it, but you're a salesperson, you're targeted to hit so many sales, you may not care about what status it does for you because you're the salesperson, you're not the expert. I'm not demeaning sales, it's a skill and a talent, and it requires a lot of tenacity. But you may not care about that so much. You may just go, I just want to get my deals, I want to hit my quotas, I want to get my commission. I don't care, I'm done. I am not talking to those people tonight. This is not a webinar for salespeople. This is everybody else. This is the people who don't want to do that. I just want to hit the numbers. This is for the people who go, I want to hit the numbers in the way that works for me. I want to hit the numbers in a way that it doesn't undermine my status, it doesn't undermine my credibility, and I can elevate my authority in front of my target audience. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. So when we look at these two groups, this one I'm completely ignoring. If you want to know how to do that stuff, we'll happily teach you, but it's more of a sales focused session. And that's not for tonight. What we're going to talk about tonight is passive selling. So these are things where you're taking action, but the prospect is making the first move towards a conversation. So Sarah's just asked, will this be available as a recording? Yes, if you drop us an email on screen, excuse me, on screen, you'll see an email address underneath somewhere here, there. On screen, you see an email. Drop us an email and we'll send you the recording. Just whilst I'm here, we've also got a 10-minute video that I'm happy to share with you, and it talks about the 5 levels of authority and how there are different levels that you can reach in social media. And I'll give you a clue. Don't even think about trying to be an influencer. If you want to make money on social media in what you're doing, not money-making scheme, but in your business, you do not need to be an influencer. You do not need to be a thought leader. You just have to have your own little community. So in order for us to understand this first, we need to do some maths. So, and hopefully grab a piece of paper and we'll do this together. So every one of you here will be selling something. So Maverrik is a big, reasonably big organization. We got 50 odd people, 3 different offices. So we're a bigger organization. So we sell a range of things. You may, if you are a solopreneur expert, if you're a solopreneur business, if you want to punch through all of that noise on social media to sell your service, you're gonna have to focus not on a niche, but on one key service offering. So I'm going to do this and show you mine. So we have a program called the Accelerator. Right, so write your service down. Yep, the Accelerator. That's my one key service. It's actually not the one I promote on LinkedIn, but I'll use it for this example. So it's the Accelerator is basically where people work with me weekly for a year in group calling, in group coaching. And we implement strategies to grow business, get clients, and do all of that stuff to grow businesses and make more money. So there's a price tag on that, right? And I'll just put, I don't even remember how much it is these days. I'll just put, I think it's £3,200 plus VAT, right? So write your service down, right? Write this service down. Now you need your goal, right? And I'm just going to show you this because all the maths start to help you understand what you need to achieve. Because most people come to social media and they think, I need 10,000 followers. This is what I need. Da 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 da. And it's wrong. They come up with the math, the follower numbers and the content numbers before they know what they need to sell. So, okay, how many of them do we want to sell? So I'm just going to use you for an example now and say, actually, I want 25 of them a year. Actually, I'll do 24 for my maths. 24, that's 2 a month. So 2 people a month buying your coaching program, your consultancy services. We've now got some clarity. So this is what I'm selling. This is how many I want to sell. To who? So lots of what you do will have different target audiences. There'll be different emphases for different products. Different services will have different pain points that they solve for customers. So the first thing you have to do is list out who those people are. So are they coaches? Are they solopreneur coaches? Or are they based on a particular topic? So I'm not saying niche down, but you need to be very clear on who you're going to sell to. So I end up with, I need 24 solopreneur coaches. To hit my target. There, dead simple. So I now know what I need to achieve. How many people do you think we need to hit that number? Anybody who'd like to guess how many people we need to hit that number? Right? Anybody want to guess in the chat? To get 24 people to buy, how many people do we need to hit? Take a guess. Now, bear in mind, this is passive selling. So just thinking about passive selling versus active selling. So active selling is where outbound, it's more unsolicited. 200. Alyssa, I wouldn't be far off there. I'd probably say just about right there. Actually, 200, 2,500, 400. Okay, so let me give you an indication. Right, I would always assume you're going to need about 240 people. Not 240 people anybody, yeah? Not 240 people of anybody, 240 solopreneur coaches. 240 solopreneur coaches. And people go, Dean, how do you get that kind of conversion rate? Right? There's a difference between passive selling and active selling. Yeah, remember that one? The more outbound. Active selling is unsolicited. Yeah, it's unsolicited. So of course, if you're outreaching to people who have no interest, no engagement whatsoever, guess what? You are going to find the success rate is poor. I'm going to sneeze, sorry. Maybe not. The success rate is poor, right? So active selling does have a very poor success rate. In fact, I was studying some stats recently, and if you send on average 4 cold emails to a prospect and you sent them in volume, the success rate to a lead is less than 4%. So from sending 4 emails, so let's say you're targeting 100 people, yeah, you'd send 400 emails to that 100 people, and your success rate would be 3. So most people on the active selling side of this would justify that as good because they got 3 leads. We're not talking about sales here, we're talking about leads. If they get them to a meeting, and then they get a proposal, and then they convert them, they might get a sale. Turns out that the success rate from email or outreach activity to sale on an active selling model is 1% or less. 1%. So in an active selling role, if we want to be really bad, it would actually be more like it'd be more like 2,400 people. Is that right? My math's right? Yeah, 2,400 people. But now we know we need 240 people. So let me show you one thing that we can do. I'm going to give an analogy from LinkedIn here. From LinkedIn, first of all, and then we can look at other social channels. So let's say, for an example, 24 is the number that makes all of your sales done for the year. You could, if you sold them all in the next 6 weeks, you could sit back and relax. Let's assume that that's the case. 24. So in the sense of the next year, if you know your number, for the next 12 months, all I have to do is convince 24 people to a month to spend £3,200. So for somebody to spend £3,200, I'm going to scrub the board. There's a couple of things that have to happen. Right? If we're selling 50 quid, it's throwaway. It's throwaway. People will take a punt, as they would say. Yeah? They're going to have to see you understand them. So they need to see that you understand, I can't spell for England, see that you understand them. People don't pay money to you, they don't pay money to you to solve a problem for them if it's not painful, yeah? They're not going to pay you any money if it's not painful. So they want to see that you understand their pain. Yeah, they want to see that you understand their pain. They want to see that you understand their goal. Every client, doesn't matter what you're selling, expert, marketing consultant, accountant, lawyer, what it is, if you understand their goal, great. There's 2 big points. See you understand. Yeah, if you don't get them, it's irrelevant. Then what else do they want to do? They want to be able to relate to you. Right? So they see you understand, yeah? So you understand them, you understand their pains, but they also need to be able to relate to you. If you don't like me, you're not going to sit on a webinar, and if you don't like the way I do things, if you don't like the way I think, guess what? You're also going to check out here. It's just the way it works. So here's a bit of relief for you. Be yourself. Like, really be yourself. It doesn't matter if somebody else is doing it a different way. You attract and build your own tribe who like the way you do it. The good news is, even the most quirkiest of person will be able to build a tribe. How big does that tribe need to be? How big does that tribe need to be? Actually, you only need 24 people to like you. 24 people. And if you're a UK-based business, in around 65 million people, you've got to find 24 people who get you in the way you do it, who like the way you do it. Sometimes what we do, in trying to appeal to the masses, we become so vanilla that the people who will be our die-hard customers and die-hard supporters don't get it. They just don't see it. In your efforts to, I'm not saying deliberately offend people or deliberately provoke people. I'm just saying, be your freaking self. Do it your way. Offer your services in your way. You got to get 24 people to like it. In 65 million, if you're in the UK, if you're in the US, it's 300 and something million. Wherever you are in the world, you only need 24 people. In the active selling model, you have to go hunt those people. In the passive selling model, you have to attract those people. So they have to be able to relate to you. So here's the fascinating thing about becoming an expert and using social media to make your money. For you to be positioned as an expert, you have to help people understand their problem better. You have to show people that you've helped them fix their situation. You don't have to produce big, in-depth white papers and documents to prove how clever you are. You just have to show people you understand them. You understand their world, and you know how you can get them, once they relate, you have a process to get them from pain to outcome. That's it. And part of your job is to literally, consistently help people see that in a variety of different ways. So when I do my programs with clients, I say, right, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at what you're offering through our audience value proposition. And we're then going to look at who you're offering it to, your price point, all of that stuff. Then we're going to translate this into topics and content that you can actually use to attract the tribe, which is like 24 people. And you're going to offer value, you're going to put value out, you're going to grow your network, grow your following with people, and the people who engage, the people who respond, they are your tribe. And you provide, the next one, I need to find some space, is in-depth experience. What do I mean? If you don't want to sell, you really don't want to sell, you've got to create opportunities where people can go a little bit deeper than just seeing you on social media. So you've got to create an encounter where people can go, I kind of like this person. They're talking about stuff that makes a difference to me. I can see they know what they're doing, and I can see they have a plan of how I can get from where I am to where I want to be. You have to create an in-depth experience. So, tip, this is an in-depth experience. This is where you get to see me, you get to see what I'm like presenting, hopefully you like it, but you get to see what I'm about. Words do not show people personality very often. It's very tricky. Whereas when you create an immersive experience like this, or an in-depth encounter on Zoom or LinkedIn or video posts or a live, what you're doing is allowing people to watch you. They can look into your eyes, they can see and understand your command of the topic, they can see how you feel at ease in communicating. All the body language stuff that helps us show that we know what we're doing, you can do in an in-depth experience. So if you're gathering connections of your 240 people who are coaches, you're starting to post about these issues, you're going to start to attract them, and you can start to create in-depth experiences. A webinar like this, low key. I don't need to hard sell. If you've got challenges that you are struggling with and you keep going round and round in circles about clients and getting more money into your business, you will either believe me that I can solve those issues or you won't. And that's part of the in-depth experience that people can get what's the old-fashioned way of saying it? They can either like the cut of your jib or they won't. They like the way you do things, they like your approach, they see your talking sense, you're speaking to their pain and their goal, and you're providing an experience for them to test you, for them to see you and see what they think. Videos on social media are good at this. I hate doing videos. Do you know what? I like doing live better than I like recording videos. Whenever I'm doing a video for Instagram, I always feel like an idiot doing it. I don't know why, but when I go live like this, I just have to get on with it. And I know that people are watching, so I have to do it differently. So find the mediums that work for you. But one of the things about video is it really helps people see what you're really about. Text and images are great, but actually sharing some video like this, getting people around you. I did with a client last week, a client came to our offices and they did their live broadcast from here. And we did a bit of practice run beforehand and saying, just be yourself and all this kind of stuff. They had 100 and odd people come to it. We helped them get them there. They don't need 100 clients. But here's the fascinating thing. If you want to elevate your authority, you want to build that expert business, I'm going to kind of clear the board again. Right? You've got your maths, so you know how many people it is. Right? You know how many people that is. For the whole year, 24 people equals 240 people over the whole year. There's a couple of things that you need to make this really easy so you don't have to do much hard sell. You don't do any hard sell. And that's what we're saying here, right? The trade-off of active selling versus passive selling, which is what the experts want to do, passive selling, is you've got to do more content-centric stuff to compensate for the fact that you're not outbounding. So the good thing is, the more you do this, the easier it gets. One, because you know how to do it, but two, because you're mass educating a market. Now that mass education might be 200 people, it might be 500 people, but actually what you're doing is you're building a fan base, you're building a support base, and you're mass educating people. So you're building brand awareness that active selling doesn't do. So I'm not saying right or wrong, they're two different tools, but if you're trying to sell on expertise, you want to be at the top end of the pricing, you can't do it by just aggressively outbounding. So if we're starting to look at this, you need a couple of things. You need a video experience on a consistent basis. The reality is, if you're going to put out content to try and get clients, and you focus on their pain and their goals, and you speak into those things, you're going to need those in-depth experience. You might have to do one on a regular basis, so you can't, and there's no shirking this, by the way. If you don't want to do the messages, you have to do the other thing. And the reason I say video, and I don't like doing videos, I don't mind doing this stuff. So what we'll often do is, for me, I'll record a podcast and we'll record me film it, and then the team will cut that up for me, or I'll cut it up myself, so that I've got a video where I feel more comfortable. Because when I stand in front of the camera to do it like pre-record, I become a bit weird. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't work for me. So we'll often do something like this. So this will be saved as a video because people want the recording, and somebody will cut it up, or I'll cut it up and take bits and use it for social media. So people get a vibe of what I'm about, whether they like me or they don't. It's better that people decide whether they like me or they're not early, rather than start working with me and realize they don't like me. So video experience, you need to do them on a regular basis. Why? So people get the flavor of you. It might take 4, 5, 10, 20 times for people to see you, read your content, watch one of those videos, for them to realize you are the person to help them. The good news is, if you're growing your network, building your followers, and you're doing this with the view of your 24, you're actually influencing well beyond that, way beyond that. Jess, takes a long time to do a video. Not necessarily. The way I would do it is simple. I'll tell you, this is our podcast set. We just move everything around. So we'll set up the podcast microphones there. This camera will be here, and I'll have a guest there. We'll be talking. We'll film the whole conversation, and then we'll just cut the bits that were useful and use them for social media. Actually, it's harder to do this. I know I'm upsetting the camera people. It's harder to do this to a cold camera and go, hello, it's Dean here. You also find your energy dips. I don't know why that is. You have to kind of overcompensate for your energy when you're doing it here. So I find that the easiest thing to do is record a podcast, do this. But the thing is, for me, blah, 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 they cut it up into something, share it on social media. It actually works really well because people seem to like them. There's also this thing where, we have this like almost magical effect that if you're not looking at the camera and you're talking like you're on a video or a podcast, it seems cool these days. So doing something like that is much easier. So filming straight down the camera is just so hard work. So you've got to create video experiences. Yeah. You're going to have to be posting prolifically. Now I'm going to tell you why, and I'll give you, I don't know how to spell that right. Posting prolifically, here's why. Your audience, you want to give them a maximum exposure to you, maximum exposure as soon as possible. So as soon as possible. We've got some questions here. I'll come to the questions in a second. Just bear with me. So the more you post, the more touch points you've got. So I would advocate just posting daily. The other reason why you should post daily is to learn which of your posts talking about this work? You won't know. You don't know right now, if you're not posting at all, you don't know what's good or bad content. You do not know at all. So posting prolifically, yeah, daily, sharing your thoughts, sharing your ideas to see how people respond to you. Bit of personal stuff in there so people warm to you, but this is important. You then need one more thing. You need a PDF resource which you can give and offer to people because you're only selling one thing right now on LinkedIn or social media. Because you need to give a PDF resource which helps people understand this in a bit more depth. Don't worry about the DIYers. I know I've said this before. People worry so much about the DIYers. Let me give you a bit of relief. The DIYers, it doesn't matter what you do, they're not going to buy from you. If they want to do it themselves, they're going to do it themselves. But sometimes in trying to protect from the DIYers, we alienate the triers. So the triers are the people who consume your content, go away and try and have a go, don't get it right and come back for help. So they go and try it, try to DIY, fail and come back, and they become your buyers. So you will find some people who just consume your content in the background, hiding away, you don't know they exist, they come straight in and buy, and you go, where did they come from? You will have them, but the majority of your clients will come from the triers, the people who tried to DIY, couldn't do it, and now realize they need to buy. So the big revelation for you, lots of people get fed up with DIYers, but the DIYers help you get seen. The DIYers amplify your message. The triers try and DIY it. It further proves that to them that they need you. Right, we've got some questions. I'm going to come a bit further forward because I'm feeling a bit old tonight and the type's really small here. So, Samuel has asked, maybe we can put these up on the screen if that's all right, because a bit... So Samuel's asked, an organisation that wants to do the video, who would you recommend doing the video? It really depends on who is going to, who they want to buy into. In a small business, say a solopreneur business, it's usually the owner's identity before the business's brand. So it's usually that the owner's identity takes it. In a larger organisation, it doesn't matter so much who it is, but they have to buy into that person. So if you think about it with Tony Robbins, for an example, he has a ton of associate coaches, and people will pay top drawer for a Tony Robbins associated coach, even though it's not Tony Robbins. His authority, his expertise, his credibility is carrying hundreds of other coaches. Why? Because he's built his profile, he's built his awareness to be able to support that. So it doesn't matter, Samuel, whose it is, but they inadvertently become the brand, at least until you transition away into a more corporate brand. So today, it's really strange actually, when Maverrik started, it was Dean and Maverrik. And now Maverrik has its own audience, its own clients. There's clients who come to Maverrik and never met me, don't know me, and I've never met them. And then there's other people who come because they want to work with me. And we have two divisions of the business. We have a division that just knows Maverrik, and then we have the training and coaching side of the business, which just know me. So just be aware that the brand is usually the expert, and then the expert has to build and backfill his infrastructure or their infrastructure to support what they want to achieve. We had another question. One of the big things people stress out about with the knowledge, I think Iman's mentioned this, so I'll just push on it a little bit. He's just replying to Samuel. Capable of presenting. I got some great advice from somebody maybe 20 years ago, and said, if you will always come across as the expert if when you're talking to people, number one, you remember this. You are the expert communicating with a non-expert. Yeah? You are an expert communicating with a non-expert. So you are responsible for translation. You are responsible for a translation. Because many times we talk, if we know our subject really well, if we know what we're doing way more than our clients, and that should be the case, by the way, if your clients know your topic better than you, you're screwed. If you know it way more than your clients, it's a doctor-patient scenario. It's a doctor-patient scenario. So when the doctor goes, oh, you've got gastroenteritis, yeah? The patient goes, what? Oh, you got a tummy bug. Just remember that. It's really important. I see this a lot on social media where people say, do you have a money mindset problem? And the problem is that most of your audience, most of the target audience, don't think they have a money mindset problem. They think the world's difficult and against them. They think they'll never earn the money. Nobody would pay that. Nobody would want to buy their services for X, Y, or Z. They have a money mindset problem, but they're not the doctor. They're the patient. So they see it as, no, the world's just tough and the world won't pay that much, and I'll have to work harder and do more and da, 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 da. Yeah. So that's the first one. You're the expert communicating with a non-expert. You're responsible for translation. The other one was, if you're going to talk for any length of time, if you're going to communicate, for every minute you communicate with a target audience, you need an hour of substance. For every minute you communicate, you need an hour of substance. So if you want to do a 30-minute video, you've got 30 hours of experience, 30 hours of knowledge. Why? Because what happens is you come across then knowing way more than you can communicate. It builds confidence. For some reason, human nature, however human works, the vibes we give off, I don't know what it is, but we read people, and when somebody's comfortable in their subject, even if they're in front of a camera and they're feeling like, camera, when somebody's comfortable in their subject, they come across as credible. They come across as confident. They come across as certain. And so it's really important. Those two lessons have stuck with me for 20 odd years now, which is you're the expert communicating to a non-expert. You're responsible for translation. In other words, it's a doctor and a patient. Number two, always have at least an hour for every minute of knowledge so that you feel comfortable in any environment. You could feel comfortable talking in a room with no notes. It comes across and it comes through confident. We got another question from David. So, is it a bad push to push expertise from a portfolio of areas? Should the service offering be highly focused, or is it possible to broaden the range of services? So, David, this is a real common question. The problem is when you're trying to establish a platform, which is what you're trying to do, you're trying to establish a platform for yourself where you're known for something and your expertise is respected on something. For a period, you have to really own one particular area. Now, people will say, know your niche and niche down. I think in the long run, niching down is a mistake. And I'll tell you why. Most of the people who tell you niche down, niche down, niche down, niche down, have had to change niches multiple times. So sometimes if you're not careful, niching down can back you into a corner. You know, I know lots of people who niche down into the leisure and hospitality sector, and then in 2020, they came unstuck. Maybe we didn't see that coming. But I also see people where they reach a saturation point in a niche and run out of road. So you end up having to pivot anyway. What I'm saying is focus on one service area initially, get that working, and then you can broaden out. If you broaden out whilst you're still trying to make something work, there's too many variables for you to understand, in the sense of, is my content punching through, or am I just splitting people's attention? So I'm not saying don't do it. I've had to do that. So when I started out, I was a general marketing consultant. So a solopreneur business. Yep, I was a solopreneur business on my own as a consultant, hired gun. I actually contemplated calling my business Hired Gun at the time, because I'd just work on projects to fix projects. And I've done some crazy stuff. I've done social media marketing at a stadium, and did that on a 6-month contract to turn around a major event with organic social. Then became the head of revenue for a television channel on a consultancy basis for 3 years. And my job was to bring in 2.5 million a month in revenue from email, advertising, marketing, all of that kind of stuff. So I've done a lot of different roles. But when Maverrik came on, I said, no, for the next couple of years, we're going to focus on how people get clients from LinkedIn. For the next couple of years, that's all we're going to do. And that built my business. We got 5,500 people through the training, all in person, did it all in person in the first 2 years. And then when obviously first 2 years of focusing down on that product area, really built that up, got some great speaking gigs, traveled to Portugal, been to places in Europe, Norway, Romania, been all over Europe, speaking gigs, podcasts everywhere, all because I focused on that one area. Got LinkedIn wrote about me and said I was one of their sales influencers, so I was like, that was cool. But now what we're doing is focusing out into new areas, because we know that actually just getting clients from LinkedIn is quite a big topic area. So now what we're focusing on how we help the solopreneur coaches, and we have the other division working with the corporate companies. So started with one thing, built it, made it work, then pushed out from a place of strength and from a place where we already had an audience, where we had recommendations, testimonials, trust in the market, a crowd around us to support us and to support our content, so we were credible to the rest of the world, and then go from there. Any other questions? Any other questions? The key is to understand that if you want to do passive selling, which is the best way to sell expertise on social media, you've got to have things like this PDF resource you can give away that gets people to give you their email addresses. Excuse me. You got the video experience, so people get to know you a little bit more. You're posting prolifically, and of course, building your audience. Now I'm going to talk to you about that for a minute. Can't spell. Building your audience is a little bit more tricky. Now, if you get the content right, over time, your audience will build. But you will have to do a little bit of legwork to kind of build that audience as well. So one of the simple ways to build your audience is what we call anchoring. Anchoring. Now I'm going to scribble off, and I'm going to do this quick because we're tight on time. If there's any more questions, or you want a copy of the replay, or you'd like to know about how I can help you get more clients and make the money doing this process, please drop us a line on the email and we'll happily set up a time to speak. But I want to talk to you just about anchoring. So anchoring is where, and it works across all social media accounts. I want you to pick 5 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And those people that you should pick are influential in your market already. So they're people further down the road than you. So in a coaching world, that might be Tony Robbins. It might be in a legal world, it might be a famous lawyer who has a big crowd and a big following. Obviously, you want it in your geographical area, in country, and you want to make sure that their audience matches yours, the audience you want. So you pick the 5 and you anchor your account to theirs. I now have to spell anchor. Anchor your account to theirs, right? So how do we anchor an account? We become the highest engaged user on their account that we can be. We like their content. We add to the discussions that they're creating. Yeah, so we add to the conversation. Yeah, we don't have to get into complex promos and partnerships and all that stuff. It's way too complicated right now. The simple thing is, if they post on social media, if they post on Instagram, if they post on LinkedIn, like it, great, but add to the discussion. You know, don't attack them, but add to the discussion. How can you add value to that conversation? I do this with 5 or 6 people myself. It keeps me visible, but also what you find is some of their audience find value in what you're sharing about that topic in the comments. You're not promoting, you're not spam commenting. You're adding to the conversation, and some people who like what you've said will come and find you. Now, of course, on LinkedIn, it's much easier. Facebook is a bit more tricky. Twitter is a bit more tricky. So Instagram and Twitter are quite tricky, but Facebook and LinkedIn are very good for this, because you can, if somebody likes your comment, if you join a group and you interact with somebody on Facebook, you can friend request them. You don't have to pitch them, but you can friend request them. On LinkedIn, you connect with them too. And you can get people into your audience who are seeing your content. They're just seeing it every so often. Not every day, but they're seeing it. And if you're starting to engage with the people in your target audience's market and adding to the discussion, you're leveraging them. And by the way, everybody knows this happens. It's not like some mystery. Everybody accepts that this happens. It's just the way it is. Nobody's upset about it. It's just the way it works. You're adding to the discussion on their profile. So you're amplifying their post and their reach. But actually what's happening is some of their audience are going, that Dean's got something really interesting to say. Let's check him out. And they connect. They friend request. They follow. So anchoring is about 5. You could do more, but I'm trying to make it sustainable for you. But yes, you could do more. We have got a question here from Alyssa, but I just can't see it that clearly. Which is the trick as to don't sound as a know-it-all? I think, Alyssa, I think one of the things you have to do is just be yourself and, you know, try and make everything practical. So one of the things where the know-it-all piece comes from is blaming. Yeah. So there's a great quote. I'm going to get it wrong, by a guy called Blair Warren, and it says, "People will do anything for people who allay their fears, support their goals." There's a great quote. We've got everybody's email who signed up for today. So what I'll do is I'll send you the quote in the follow-up. But basically what it says is, don't blame the person. If somebody's in pain, if somebody's got a problem, we don't blame. We show them why it's easy to come to that position. It's easy to get into this mess. You're not giving them an excuse, but not beating them up at the same time. If you've struggled to get clients, I'm not surprised. There's so much conflicting advice. You go to Google, it says do this and don't do this and do this. And if you struggle to make money, I'm not surprised. The economy, you can feel uncomfortable about whether you should charge this, whether you should charge that. You'll see people saying that's way too much. You see. So what I'm saying is the know-it-all bit is when people think they're looking down on you, I've made some terrible mistakes. Yeah, we all do. But when you're yourself, you don't have to prove. And often the know-it-all is when somebody's trying to prove something. Yeah, when somebody's trying to prove something, it comes through as like pointing fingers, or it comes through as like blasting information. It's just being chill and going, how can I help this person get a little bit further down the road of where they want to be? And if you approach it from that, and if you've got that thought process in your head, it actually comes out in your body language, it comes out in the way you communicate, it comes out in the way you write, that actually all I want to do today is just nudge some people a bit closer. And in that kind of passive selling environment, that's really what you're trying to achieve. That's what you're trying to do. You're just trying to nudge people down the road where they reach that roadblock and they go, this person's been helpful to me so far, so I've got to come back to them. And the amount of times I've had people, and I shared this on LinkedIn this morning on my post, I said, now I get so many people who come to me and they say, Dean, I've been seeing your posts for a while now. Can you help me? Or the other one I get is people who've engaged and say, I really liked that post this morning. Can you help me? I get a lot of that now. Why? Is it because of that post? No, it's because of the multi-touch that I've been doing, learning from each post, learning what people are struggling with, spending the time to tweak and test. And so that means I spend no time building these complex cadences of follow-up. I spend no time doing that. I spend no time on the phone cold calling people. I don't really chase up people's quotes or anything. I do my promos through my email that people have opted into and said, oh, send me more information. I do my webinars, which I love doing because I love pretending to be a teacher for a day. And I love helping people. In fact, I said to somebody on our team this morning, I said, if I'd wanted to do this for money, I could have charged a lot more, gone on Facebook ads and just made the money and said, I'll make you a millionaire in 90 days. But of course, I'd be full of absolute doing that when we know that the reality is you've got to work a process, you've got to build habits, you've got to do consistency. And it doesn't matter, to answer Alyssa's point, it doesn't matter how much you know, you can be the biggest genius on the planet that could solve every world problem. But actually, if people don't buy into you, if people don't get you, if people don't warm to you, if you don't provide assets that help people see how you can add more value, you can promote all day long, but you'll be totally invisible, totally invisible. So summing up, I just want to recap. You can't do anything without locking horns on a product, a target market, and a price point so that you understand the numbers of how many you need to sell, and then you can scale up and say, what's the size of audience I need to do? Because we're passive selling, we can then really focus on just nurturing through content. Yeah, nurturing through content. We need video experiences so that people get to know us, get a vibe, get our feels, and say, could I work with this person? Does this person seem like they know how to solve my issues? We post prolifically, whatever channel you choose. LinkedIn's my preferred one, but Facebook's just as good. Instagram, a little bit more tricky, but it's just as good. Even Twitter works this way. You need a PDF resource that you can give to people so that they can signal to you, I need your help. You just put it up on a page, give us your email if you want it, and they can download it. But also you're getting a flavor of how many people are interested. As an aside, the only plug I'm going to make tonight is Thursday, I start the Leads Challenge from Content. So for over 8 weeks, I'm going to be teaching people how to get leads from content. So if you like this and go, I want to implement it, happy to share the link with you if you want it. Drop us an email if you want it. hi@maverrik.io, and we'll send you a copy of the link. There's a video from me on there to explain what it's all about. And if you want in weekly group coaching, we implement as we go, and the target and the aim is to get 2 leads every day, every single day from content. It's a little bit shifted because the first 2 weeks we do the training. So that's like your practice run. And then it's 6 weeks, bang, 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 leads. No sales pitches. So PDF resource, you need to build your audience, and anchoring is one of the best ways to do it. And of course, getting into Facebook groups, connecting with people, building relationships. And on LinkedIn, finding the people who match your target audience, warming them up in terms of don't just cold connect to people, but build a relationship, connect with them, and let them see your value through your content. But you need those video experiences. We've got another question, and then I think we'll wrap up. How often would you recommend engaging with that person's content to avoid coming across as spammy? Good question, good question. So actually I wrote this process, which is very similar to what LinkedIn tells you to do anyway. So I wrote this process, and the process is real simple. So number one, just as an aside, somebody's put their email in the chat. Please don't put your email in the chat. Use the email address on screen, hi@maverrik.io, and we'll send it to you, hi@maverrik.io. So I wrote a process on this. In fact, I've done 2 training sessions today with companies where I've shown them how to do this. So if you're going to engage with people, number one, if people engage with you, if you engage with people, they're more likely to look back, they're more likely to see your content, they're more likely to reciprocate. So engaging backwards, engaging with contacts is good. But how often, the question was, Olga, I think, how often should you do it? So there's a sweet spot of if you've got an objective to achieve and you don't want to look like a stalker. So you can't spam them if you're only adding to the conversation. By that I mean, you're not like promoting and say, hey, buy my course, or hey, buy my link, or sign up for my coaching program. If you're doing that, that's really bad. But if you're adding to the discussion, there's no real set frequency. But what I recommend is that you leave at least a day's breather between every interaction you do. So if I was engaging with a prospect today, or a target today, commenting and interacting, I'd probably leave it for a day or so. When you're talking about anchoring to larger accounts, doesn't matter, does not matter. They will value your engagement because of the amplification effect it has for them. And they understand how this works. Most people understand how this works. In fact, some of the big influencers on Instagram teach people to do it. They tell you to do it. You can engage with theirs, you can engage with anybody's, they tell you to do it. So anchoring your account to 5 people doesn't matter so much, but obviously with your target audience, your people you want to build those relationships with, if you engage with everything they post, you might look a little intense. So I'd give it a little breather, a day, 24 hours off. So 3 times a week, potentially 3 times a week. If you leave it too much, they forget who you are. So 3 times a week. Any other questions for tonight? Going once? Going twice? Look, I really appreciate you joining me tonight. I know evenings, we've got a lot going on in our lives, and giving up time to join this is, a chunk out of your life. And hopefully you found it as valuable. Look, if there's anything you can do for me, I'm more than happy. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, follow me on LinkedIn. If you've got questions, come and ask me, absolutely fine. But the one thing I would ask as a favor from me, obviously love you to join our program, but the favor from me is wherever you're watching, wherever you're joining us tonight on social media, just do something like a comment, a share, a subscribe, a follow, all of that stuff that we all get told we have to do. Really helps us get seen by more of the right people, helps more people find what we do, and it means a lot to me if you'll do that too. So thank you for joining me. I hope you've got some value from this. Don't forget all of the fun stuff that will help us, and see you next time. I'm back next week with another session, so go check out on our website, go check out on our LinkedIn and find the other sessions we're up to next week.
past year, Maverrik has helped generate more than 15 million in new business. The biggest reason for this is our 90-day training and implementation platform we call the Accelerator Program, where we teach your team to sell on social media with an implement-as-you-go strategy. It's not a pre-recorded course, it's hands-on sales training that develops and grows with you, with 90 days of real action that generates business and long-term revenue. So who is it for? This program is for entrepreneurs, marketing and sales professionals who want to sell without ads, cold calling, or pushy tactics. A better way of selling with real steps to take which speeds up your sales process without burning any bridges. These are just a few examples of results our members have achieved using the Accelerator. As you can see, the Accelerator isn't about quick wins, it's about building a better sales process. If you'd like to learn more, just book a call with the Maverrik team and we'll show you how the Accelerator program can win you new business.